Ever wondered about the searing hatred between Rod Steiger and Marlon Brando? You haven't heard of it. Now you're at the perfect place, because we're about to crack that riveting case wide open. But that's not all. Get ready to uncover Rod Steiger's ultimate remorse, a regret that haunted him until the very end. Prepare to plunge into the mysterious depths of a method actor's life. Rod Steiger is as weird as it comes, and you can blame his acting style for this. However, you can't deny that when it comes to acting, the man had legendary skills and has done impressive things. But Rod didn't think he was impressive, as he had compromised on the things he valued. He believed he had compromised 40% of what he held dear and could only preserve 60%. That's an impressive mark if we do say so ourselves. To hold on to ideals in Hollywood, you would have a better chance walking on water. While Rod worked so hard to preserve his values, even if he would later lose some of them, Marlon Brando gave in to Hollywood's debauchery and hurt many people as a result. Some of the people he hurt even tried to take their own life. Imagine these two men with two different ideals being on the same film. A recipe for conflict and disaster, don't you think? As expected, Rod didn't like Brando when the two were co-stars in Elia Kazan's On the Waterfront. But he acted professionally toward Brando in that film, and as a result of that professionalism, the movie came out brilliant. On the Waterfront was beyond perfect. They played brothers in the film, and it was epic and emotional. There was the iconic cab scene where Brando went, "I could have had class, I could have been a contender," when his character was criticising Rod's character Charlie the Gent for making him lose a fight on purpose. The scene took 11 hours to shoot, and every bit of emotional nuance you see there is a result of the script and heavy rehearsals, and this scene is one of the reasons Rod hated Brando as a person. You see, Brando claimed the scene took 7 takes and was largely improvised. Brando even said it was Rod that made them spend that long because Rod was always crying. This was another way of saying Rod overacted. What Brando said hurt Rod, as Rod battled criticisms for always overacting, but that wasn't the only reason Rod hated Brando. Rod researched a lot about his character and hung around the set after filming, but Brando didn't stick around after filming, and Rod felt he was arrogant. He didn't talk to the other stars or the crew. He and Rod didn't even bond. So after that film, the two didn't communicate, but they almost reunited in The Godfather. However, Mario Puzo, the author of the book that got adapted into the film, thought Steiger was too old for the role of Michael Corleone. Imagine what would have been if we had more films of these two brilliant actors who went to the same acting school. Although Brando had more recognition, Brando having more recognition contributed to Rod's dislike of the man. On the set of On the Waterfront, Brando seemed to be director Elia Kazan's pet, and Steiger was furious. The director shot Brando's close-ups before Rod's, and when Rod complained that Elia favoured Brando, the director said that Rod was insecure. Ouch! He claimed he shot Brando's close-ups first because he had to leave the set early. However, despite accusing Rod of being insecure, Kazan believed that his insecurity didn't affect the film, and that the taxicab scene is his best performance. Well, Rod didn't like Kazan's words, and do you blame him? Why would Kazan call him insecure? It doesn't seem fair. Rod didn't accept that the cab scene was his best work. According to Steiger, his best performance was in The Pawnbroker, and the last scene in the film is his best acting. But even if Elia were right about the cab scene being his best, Rod wouldn't agree with him. You see, Rod regretted working with Kazan. The actor found out that the director testified before the Un-American Activities Committee, and that stars got blacklisted and had their lives ruined due to the director's testimony. Some began to drive cabs, and the ones that couldn't cope with their new reality fell into depression and took their lives. Rod blamed Elia for what happened to those stars, so when the director won an honorary Oscar award, Rod didn't congratulate the man, he instead criticised him. But it was Rod's habit to criticise, and he did that to many actors and directors. And he was also heavily criticised for much of his career, and honestly, they were fair criticisms. You see, for such a brilliant man, the actor had a major flaw: overacting. It is what his critics always complained of. One called his portrayal of H. Lee Sadakin, the judge that freed Carter, little, arrogant and pompous. Interestingly, the judge himself found his performance impressive. A news outlet called his acting hysterical in the film The Naked Face. In FIST and Love and Bullets, apart from criticising the film, the critics also accused him of going outside the script. Mr. Steiger bellows and weeps and overdoes absolutely everything, Janet Maslin complained in her review of the film, The Amityville Horror. Another critic wrote that his overacting in the film was enough to break the camera lens. Ouch! But maybe they judged him too harshly. Not that he didn't have a flair for the overly dramatic. He did, and it's all because of his commitment to his method acting style. As a method actor, the man did a lot of background work studying his characters. Because of his understanding of a character, Rod gets carried away and tried to show his characters every possible side. Unfortunately, in the end, his performance became excessive. Some of these performances are bearable, but others, phew! This made him a problem to work with sometimes. Directors knew he was a brilliant actor, but they risked his overacting. Sometimes this led to clashes between him and the directors. Armenian director Ruben Mamoulian was one of the people Rod clashed with. Ruben directed the stage production of Oklahoma, and he felt Steiger was doing too much. The director accused Steiger of mumbling, and it got to a boiling point when Rod bit into and started eating an apple loudly when he was on the scene. Ruben had none of it and fired the actor on the spot. Robert Aldrich, another director, said with other actors he tried to think of a way to improve them, but with Steiger he had to find a way not to let him go overboard. Steiger was quite the headache for Aldrich as he changed his character's lines, making the other actors look stupid. These other actors reacted and accused him of always trying to steal scenes from them. Jack Palance, his co-star in The Big Knife, complained about this, and the two didn't get along. Anthony Perkins, who Rod acted alongside in The Glory Boys, condemned the actor for the same thing. But Rod was always ready for what people would say about him, and he fired back instantly. He insulted and also complained about Perkins' performance in the film. But Perkins and Jack had a point, as Elia Kazan also made a similar allegation against Steiger. Do you know what Steiger did? Of course he rejected what Elia said and defended himself again. The actor claimed that he was only trying to evolve acting. However, he shouldn't have done that at the other actors' expense and make them look stupid. So why did the actor always try to outdo himself and others in films? Perfection. Rod pursued perfection. However, his reasons for this are sad. The actor wanted to be perfect because he panicked about becoming irrelevant. Eventually it was that pursuit of perfection that destroyed him and almost made him irrelevant. Rod Stephen Steiger was born to vaudevillian parents on April 14, 1925 in West Hampton, New York. He had the blood of entertainers running through his veins, but this came at a cost. The star had a dysfunctional childhood. Life was hard for him and his family. He only knew that his dad was a vaudevillian who toured America with his mum. When the father left, his mother had to pick up the pieces, and she had big dreams. She was attracted by the glitter of Hollywood and wanted to be part of it. Why not? She had the talent for it as an experienced showwoman. But life wasn't a vaudevillian show. It is unscripted. In her pursuit to be the next big thing on the screen, Rod's mother got into an accident, and it was bad. She needed to get surgery. Despite the surgery, she lost the ability to walk properly, and it killed her dreams. Hollywood at the time had no dealing with people that had disabilities. So the energetic woman lost herself as she lost her ambitions of Hollywood. She had only one comfort: drink. She drank like a fish and moved with her son to another place as she quit being a vaudevillian. The woman got worse, and because of this, she and her son couldn't stay at a place. They moved constantly and eventually settled in Newark, New Jersey. Poor Rod, his mum being an alcoholic brought him so much trouble. People mocked him, and he was taken advantage of. His childhood was dark for him, and the actor, when he was interviewed, said he would give up his fame and wealth just to have a better childhood. Things got slightly better. Slowly the actor began to gain the respect and admiration of the people around him. He became a famous athlete. But he wasn't just the athlete, he was the entertainer. Rod had a calling in the arts. He wrote poetry, and also was part of school plays. But the shame he felt about his life wouldn't go away, and the pressure to get away got too much. His mother's condition worsened, and he decided to run. Steiger joined the US Army when he was 16 years old. He lied about his age so he would be admitted into the Army. Rod became part of the Navy and trained at the US Naval Training Station in Newport, Rhode Island. After training, straight to the theatre of war, as the Navy assigned him to the USS Taussig as a torpedo man. He took part in the battles in the South Pacific, including the Battle of Iwo Jima. He witnessed the horrors of war, and he almost lost his life in the war, but not because of a battle. So while sailing off the coast of Luzon in the Philippines, the USS Taussig got caught in Halsey's typhoon. The typhoon was vicious. It tore everything in its path, but the actor was determined to live. Despite everything he had faced, death wasn't an option for him, not yet, not until he proved himself. So he fought, struggled, and managed to survive by tying a rope around himself and flattening himself to the deck. Eventually Rod left the army, but the horrors he witnessed didn't leave him. After he left the military, the actor went to New York to rent a room with his army wages. He got odd jobs, but he decided to join the civil service little theatre group. His reason was simple. The actor wanted to get girls, but instead got the acting bug. Steiger discovered he had a talent for acting and was determined to make the most of it. He believed in acting. He could reinvent himself and change his family's history. He joined the dramatic workshop and soon debuted as an actor in the play Cursed You, Jack Dalton. Then the actor decided to improve his craft. He joined the Actors Studio, which Elia Kazan created in 1947, and was classmates with Marlon Brando, Eli Wallach, and Carl Malden. Rod learned method acting with these legendary actors, but unlike Brando, Rod lacked that thing that gave all actors an advantage. No, it wasn't talent. Steiger had an abundance of that. It was good looks. An actor without good looks had to be ready to do more to go far. So he decided to be a character actor, leading him to play weird, villainous characters or historical figures. His early career prepared him for this, as he acted in different television series and acted in over 250 TV shows in 5 years. His exposure gave him the training and the range. He was ready, and when he got his opportunity, he grabbed it with both hands. The actor played the conflicted and villainous Judd Fry in the film Oklahoma, and soon added the role of a loose version of Harry Kern in the film The Big Knife. And to get in character for that film, he went overboard and studied Vladimir Sokolov to understand his role. The actor then became Slimy Komarovsky in Dr. Zhivago, and he was so great that he was utterly believable as a Russian. See what we mean by weird? It became clear that he had become typecast, so he went to Europe to get demanding roles. However, when the opportunity came for him to get a challenging part, he got the roles of villainous historical characters, but villain or not, playing historical characters requires a great deal of skill and attention, two things that Rod was great at. The actor became Napoleon Bonaparte and was committed to the role so much that he even gained weight. However, gaining this weight was one of the things that ruined his life. As Napoleon, the actor divided opinions. Some critics thought he was fantastic and others felt he wasn't. However, this didn't stop Rod. He was like a hot rod on butter. He melted people's opinions of him and took more historical roles. He became Benito Mussolini in 2 different films. The first Mussolini film was Carlo Lizani's Last Days of Mussolini. The second film with Mussolini in it was Lion of the Desert, which managed to cause a scandal. The Italian authority banned the film because they felt it insulted their army. They only let it air in 2009, but in other parts of Europe, like Britain, the film was a great hit and got Rod an award. The star portrayed W.C. Fields, the comic actor in the biopic W.C. Fields and Me for Universal Pictures. The film was based on the memoir of Fields' mistress, Carlotta Monti. He put himself through the ringer for that film. As expected, went overboard studying the character and had tons of intimate knowledge. Still, he didn't feel like he had done enough. So when Carlotta came around the set, the actor became insecure but eventually calmed down. Rod moved on and got a sterling opportunity. He was the first pick to play US General George S. Patton in the film Patton, which revolved around the general's efforts in World War II. The fact that the star played an active part in the war made him an obvious choice, but Steiger felt otherwise. The horrors of war still disturbed him, so he rejected the role, saying he didn't want to glorify war. Unfortunately for Rod, the actor that replaced him won an Oscar for his efforts. Rod regretted not acting in that role and called it the biggest mistake of his career, but that was how Hollywood was. You snooze, you lose. Eventually the seeds the war planted in his mind sprouted. The actor fell into depression and would battle with it for 8 years. Rod was lost. He didn't do anything but watch football all day. The darkness enveloped him and slowly consumed him. But he had a light. Reports say that his fourth wife, Paula, was there for him during the dark years of his depression. Sadly, the two would eventually divorce, and the actor would marry a 5th time. However, out of all his 5 marriages, his second marriage to Claire Bloom was the one he regretted he lost. The two differed in how they saw life, but Steiger was committed to Claire. Eventually the marriage would end in 1969, and Bloom quickly moved on with her life as she married Hillard Elkins not long after the divorce. Hillard was the man Rod would ask to keep his wife company while he was on a film set. Hillard did his job too well. While the actor battled depression, his bad health also didn't help. "Never tell anyone if you've got heart problems, kid, never," the actor said. Rod had 2 open-heart surgeries, making filmmakers wary about casting him. Also, trying to fit into how Napoleon looked by gaining weight didn't help. It led him to become overweight. Due to his health, he couldn't get roles, leading him deeper into the hole. He thought he had become a failure and a man without a purpose. So in trying to find a purpose, the actor began acting in B-movies, which made things even worse. Those films were big flops, and they damaged the little reputation he had left. However, he didn't give up. He had come too far in life to quit, so he continued to work and did so until his death. The actor fell sick and had to get an operation for a gallbladder tumour. The surgery was a bust. All that could go wrong went wrong. His kidney failed, and he also had pneumonia. Through death, the method actor, who spent most of his life working hard at preparing for his roles, got something he needed but never gave himself. Rest, a peaceful rest, even if it was an eternal one. But in our next video is set to unravel the shocking truth behind one of cinema's beloved legends, Henry Fonda. Brace yourself for an eye-opening exploration into the depths of his character as we delve into the question, was Henry Fonda a cruel person?